All right. Yo, this is me. This is from the heart to you and for all of us. I'm here today to talk about best lessons learned over 2016. And I've had a chance over the weekend to sit and think about a lot of things, but especially reflecting on this past year. You know, I've never really been big on New Year's resolutions because I feel like every day you should be recommitting to being as optimal and vibrant and awesome as you possibly can. But at the same time, anything that will sit you down and make you go through an exercise of reflection and recommitting to some new envisioning statements or some new affirmations or some new goals, I love it. Like even this weekend, I went and did a little ceremony out at Red Rock, and it was great. You know, the symbolism of it was great, but then also honing most of my envisioning statements was great. By the way, fun fact, someone asked me today what I comb my beard with, and I use lard and lavender. So there you go. All right. So first of all, this year has the potential to be the best year that you've ever had, and I really mean that. And the reason is because you have a knowledge and an understanding and an experience level and also a support system that most people don't have. You know, I think a lot of us get really down on ourselves about not being perfect with all this stuff, but if you look back to before you knew this information and compare that to where you are now, the majority of us are on a completely different level, completely different life trajectory, and we have all the tools that we need to be healthy and to feel amazing, and that's a heck of a lot more than most people have. And so you got to step your game up, you know, like you really have to take this information and try to be as optimal as you possibly can on a daily basis and understand that there's a whole support system here for you. And we're constantly thinking about it. You know, like before I got on video today, I sat down and looked at our spreadsheets and tried to look at as many names as I possibly could and looked at our Facebook group and looked at some pictures, and we are here for you. We really are. And if you're struggling, if you're having issues and difficulties, then all you have to do is reach out to anyone in the group, anyone in our community, any one of your friends that have been through this program with you, or anyone here, including myself or Nicole or any of the people that are like more veteranish, and we'll help you in any way that we can, and we mean that. So this can be the best year that you've ever had because you can feel amazing. You know what you need to do to feel amazing, and all you have to do is put it into practice. And remember, better is better. All right, we're not about being perfect. We're about striving for perfection and then learning from our difficulties and challenges so that we can try to be as optimal and awesome as we possibly can. All right. One of the lessons that I would say, I've had a chance to look over the past year and just think, well, what are the most powerful things that we could talk about that stand out as the big learning points? And I would say the first one is that you got to take a chance. The older I get, the more I realize, like, this is the only life that we have as we know it, and therefore, like, you have to go for those things that you want to go for. I already look back and think, man, you know, I had all these different crazy ideas that I kind of wish I would have acted on, and I'm very thankful to be where I am right now, and I think everything's, you know, everything is exactly where it needs to be and should be. But at the same time, if there's things that you want to do, if there's someone that you want to ask out, if there's a business venture that you want to go for, you got to take a chance and you got to go for it. Because what's the alternative? Not doing it, right? And looking back and saying, I wish I would have done it. No, like you got to go for it, and who knows if you're going to be successful at it or not, you know. But just going for it is going to be beneficial for you, and the learning experiences that you have going through it are going to be beneficial. And nothing ever turns out like we think it's going to turn out. I took a chance on love this year, you know. I'll be really honest about that. I took a chance on love this year, and I'm a very private person. I keep things to myself. I usually don't, you know, go out in the public domain, dating people and things like that. And I had one of the best years of my entire life. You know, I took a chance, and that old adage, it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. And, of course, I went through a couple of days of being really down when Kelsey and I split up. And at the same time, now that I've had some time to reflect on things, it's just like I've had one of the best years that I've ever had in my life. The feeling of love, the feeling of being with someone and having a partner and having all these different experiences. Man, we did all kinds of crazy stuff this year, and it was great. Crazy stuff like trips and things. And I would not trade any of those experiences for anything in the world. And who knows what the future has for us? You know, maybe we'll be great friends. Maybe we'll readdress things. But I'm so thankful that I took that chance and took that opportunity. And you can translate that into, you know, just about anything in your life. You know, take a chance, go for it, because what's the alternative? Just go for it. Just do it. You know, put some thought into it and launch into it, and understand you're going to learn something from it no matter what, you know, whether you're successful or not. The second thing is our foundational principles are really the shit. They really are. I'm always out there kind of poking around, trying to look into countless challenges and programs and progressions. And of course, I'm in the literature all the time, and I'm reading books, and I'm experimenting and listening to podcasts. And the more that I'm out there and the more that I learn, the more that I realize no one has it pulled together the way that we do. Like, we get confirmation on what we're doing all the time. I was at a CrossFit competition not too long ago, and I had a chance to visit with some people that were there when I did my very first seminars back in, like, I don't know where it was, like maybe 2011, 2012 here. And it was so funny because they were like, T, hey, you're right about all this stuff, and we're right about all our different foundational principles. And guess what? Like, we're out there experimenting all the time, all day, every day, and bringing you what we learn. And everything that we bring to you is a step ahead of everything else that's coming out in the mainstream. I don't care if you're looking at Primal, Paleo, Weston A. Price, Dr. Hyman. I did a talk not too long ago at a friend's house, and we had just a nice little gathering there. And I was going through all my information, and one of the ladies there actually works with Dr. Hyman. Like, she's one of his patients, and confirmed a lot of, just about everything that I was talking about when it came to healthy fast. But anyway, our foundational principles are the shit. They really are, and we should all be really thankful that we have access to these things, that we know this information, because it's a step ahead of everyone else out there. Another thing, thinking about this past year, and I did a post this morning in the Facebook group, but space is a theme that keeps popping up. Space in all kinds of different aspects. Space with food for sure. Did you know that you're not burning fat when you eat food? Period. It doesn't matter how low carb you are or how much fat you have in the meal. You are not burning fat when you eat food. You are burning fat in between meals. That's the bottom line, right? We always say we don't want to force space. We want to nurture natural space, but you just have to understand that space is crucial. And space is absolutely crucial with most things in our life that are healthy. When you think about it, like, eating in and of itself isn't necessarily healthy. It's what happens with the food and the nutrients and the assimilation and what the body does with those things in the space that's actually very beneficial. And it's not the working out that's beneficial. Working out actually breaks your body down. It's in the space, the healing and repair and adaptation, that becomes very beneficial. Space and thoughts. Most of us are thinking nonstop, repetitively, all day, every day. And if something, difficult life situation wise hits you, then you're really in it, and we all know what that feels like. So we need to nurture natural space and thought as much as we can. And of course, the best way to do that is through our morning practice and priming and practice session and meditation. And then just understanding that space in general, like, you just have to back off of things for things to work really well. Sometimes when you encounter resistance or frustration or agitation or aggravation, that's an indication you need to back off and give it some space. And, I could think about just countless examples of this, like a lot of our friends, couples and people that have been married for a significant period of time. It's so funny. Like, when one of them goes off out of town or has a weekend or something, like, I'm not saying this is everybody, but a lot of times it's like, well, I have the house to myself, I have a little bit of a break. And I think we all need that. Like, we all need space from everything. We need space from food, working out, thoughts, and we just have to have this background idea and thought process that space is actually a really, really good thing, right? We just came out of experimenting with a fat loss program that we've pretty much kind of honed into a progression that we're going to offer after this next SHT progression. And a big piece of it is nurturing natural space and experimenting with some extended fasting. And I'll tell you what, I've never felt better in my life going through that. Being 100% real food is a game changer, like a complete game changer. We had, I think most of you are aware of the Atavist Purist program, which was a real food purist program. And during the SHT, we have a lot of conveniences that we can turn towards, a lot of alternatives to things that would be otherwise kind of toxic, like pizza crusts and breads and cookies and all these approved SHT items. But when people transition back to just being a real food fanatic and just eating real food and making sure that all those macros come from real food and don't come from all that approved SHT stuff, then people just feel completely different. It was a complete game changer for me. I am so committed to that, and that's not to say that I don't go out and have some pasta or gluten-free pizza here and there, but for the most part, like, I am 100% committed to being as pure and real food purist as I possibly can, because it just feels completely different. Of all the things to avoid that you could pick on, I would say that gluten needs to be up there as one of the top things. The more that we hear in the research coming out about how gluten affects us, and maybe it's something to do with American gluten and the gluten that we consume and the wheat that we consume here in the States, But the more that we see stuff coming out about this, the more that we understand that gluten is the top culprit in leaky gut and gut permeability, which contributes to autoimmune conditions and skin issues and digestive issues and anything and everything that's associated with a lot of the problems that we deal with, when transitioning from a standard American way of eating to our way of eating. And I would say just at all costs, gluten has got to be one of those things that you make as a priority to avoid. We're going to come out with a list of things that if I was going to take a hit and I was out at a restaurant or something, like what things would I allow myself to partake in, and then what things would I completely cross off the list. And, most of the time, I don't notice that bread does anything to me when I eat it, but I understand physiologically, biochemically what happens in the digestive system. So it's just one of those things that I try to stay away from, So remember, we're not anti-carbohydrates. We're carbohydrates from the right sources at the right time of day in the right amounts. But I think something that I've learned over the past year is carbohydrates are not the problem. It's really the duration and frequency that you have those things, and if we're looking for all the benefits that come from being in a fasted state and being a fat burner and being relatively ketogenic, then, carbohydrates, it is about the timing of the day, but it's also about the duration and the frequency. So if I have 150 grams of total net carbs in a day, and I had the exact same total caloric intake and the exact same foods. Let's say I just had 2 days that were almost identical, same food, same total caloric intake, same net carbs. One day I space out those net carbs and I have 50 carbs in the morning, 50 carbs at midday, and then 50 carbs in the evening. And then the second day I have all that 150 grams of net carbs in the evening meal. My body composition, my energy levels, and everything about me is better on the day that I have everything at that one point. Some of that has to do with insulin secretion, and some of it has to do with training the body how to use what kind of fuel sources. But it's not just about having carbs later in the day. It's also understanding that you want punctuation. You don't want to have this series of having carb intake, because then you're kind of derailing all the different benefits that come from strategic fasting, being empty, training the body to be self-sufficient, training the body to use fat for fuel. All right. Another great point this year, I think we don't emphasize it as much as we should, and I think we're going to place a bigger emphasis on it this year, and that's how crucial exercise is to this entire picture of health. Typically when we work with people, unless they're already athletes, we recommend that they start with our foundations first, excluding the fitness piece, and then when they have the energy levels and they want to move in that direction, of course we can nudge them to some different places and resources. Of course, we love CrossFit here at the CrossFit Combine. I don't think there's a better place in the entire world. But we try to ease people into that, and what we've seen is that people that do exercise with our other foundations see like night and day differences in body composition, energy levels, confidence, morale. Just working out in general just give you this morale and confidence boost. You start to build some muscle. Understand that exercise in general is going to tell your body what kind of body composition to have and where to put that body composition. And without exercise, you can be extremely healthy and you can have a relatively good body composition, but the exercise is important because it tells your body where to put muscle and bone density and where to distribute fat and how to use fat and things like that. So I would say that if exercise has not been a priority for you this past year, then I would definitely make it a priority for you this year and add it to our other foundations and make sure that you have something dialed in that you're doing on a regular basis. Ideally a few days a week, unless you're like one of us, like one of these addicts, and we're going 5, 6, 7 days a week. Social connection, the community aspect of this whole thing is absolutely crucial. Like, we have to spend more time together. The hikes and the dinners and the things that we do when we do get together, like, I love it. I love being around you guys. I love seeing us all communicating with each other and sharing ideas and recipes and experiences. It's so funny. Anytime we get around other SHT people, like the conversation is always about, some of our SHT principles or some food or something like that. But I love to spend time with you guys, and I love to see all of you spending time with each other and getting to be friends with each other. And we need to make an emphasis on spending more time with each other this year and doing more outdoor type activity. Fat loss has been a really, really big thing, so I know that body composition is important to all of us, and we do such a really good job on de-emphasizing the body composition piece because we understand everyone has a different journey when they go through this. Half the people that go through the SHT see body composition changes relatively effortlessly, but the other half, they have a really difficult time with it. And that's been something that's popped up over and over and over again this year, and that's why we've made such a focus on trying to put together a fat loss program. And let me tell you something, this fat loss program, like, it works. If you've got the diligence and you can put yourself through the things that we ask you to do, like, absolutely no question it works. Like, we've got people that I've worked with for years now that are seeing body composition changes, and they just weren't seeing it before. So we understand fat loss is a big thing. Look for that progression coming out after this SHT coming up. Another thing over the past year is understanding we always put a lot of emphasis on the food piece, and I think we need to place more of an emphasis on tying everything together, because tying everything, there is no one foundation that's more important than others, although some may be weighted a little bit more. I think we need to get it wrapped in our minds that we need to have all of it. Like, we need to have the food figured out for sure, because it's a huge component. We need to have the circadian rhythms. We need to have the fitness piece. We need to have the grounding. We need to have the meditation and mindfulness. We need to have the community. We need to have being outdoors. All that stuff tied together is what's going to make this extremely beneficial and healthy. And there's no one thing that's going to stand out as being the thing that you need to do and you can skip or eliminate any of the others. Like, they all tie together. And without those things, like, you see a night and day difference in things. I love the application that we're going to be rolling out here in the near future, because it cues you for all those different foundations. And when you get those foundations in place, like, it just, you feel completely different. I've had a chance now to monitor myself and notice the days that I don't ground, the days that I don't get sun exposure, the days that I don't do my priming process. Even if I get the food 100% spot on, it's completely different. My sleep is different. My energy levels are different. My mental clarity, everything about me is different. So understanding the importance of tying all those things together is going to be extremely important and beneficial. The final thing that I had a chance to think about this weekend, and I just got back from, or not just, but several weeks ago, got back from a Tony Robbins experience. It was Unleash the Power Within. I went with Chelsea Pierce and a couple of other good friends, and it was an amazing experience. Tony Robbins has been one of my idols for as long as I can remember, and seeing him live on stage was just great. And but we had a chance to talk about, like, how people see progress, and when you learn something new and you get into a progression, like, everything's exciting and new and fresh, and of course you're going through some challenges and difficulties, but most of us see a lot of progress because it's new information, it's new to our bodies, and it's like you start to see this big ramping up of progress. And then after you go through the progression, or after you go through anything that you learn some new information and put it into practice, like, you typically reach a plateau, and sometimes you may even dip down a little bit. If you look back, chances are you're probably on a different life trajectory and things are a little bit better. But the key there is after you have that little plateau, you got to put yourself into something else. You got to learn something else. You got to experiment with something else. You have to put something else into practice so that you have that new progress. And then you'll have another plateau, and then you got to learn something else and do something different. And so I'm going to make a big plug for, we've got people that have been through the SHT 5, 6, 7 times. And they always learn something new and different, because we're always changing things up and we're always re-emphasizing things. And of course, remember, when you go through that first 10-week progression, like, it's a ton of information, like, it's a ton of stuff that we throw at you, and to remember that stuff is kind of difficult. So most people benefit from going through the SHT a couple of times, but then also just understand that's why we have these other additional programs out there. We're going to recommend this progression of doing the SHT and then joining us, or maybe following along with the SHT, and then joining us for the Real Food Purist program, which is a 4-week program. And then we'll have the detox program, which is a 2-week program, and then we'll offer the fat loss program, which is going to be a 5-week program. And if you tie all those in together throughout a year, like, you're constantly learning, you're constantly evolving, you're constantly mixing things up for your body, and I just see people see a night and day difference when they do that kind of stuff. Me personally, if I just live my life based on our foundational principles, like, things are great, and I notice great changes, and I feel amazing and all that kind of stuff, but I notice my biggest changes when I'm forcing myself to mix things up. A lot of times when I'm putting these programs together and I'm doing my own self-experimentation, that's when I see the most progress, because I'm learning something new and I'm putting something new into practice. And so just understand, like, you always got to be learning and experimenting and putting yourself through different progressions. And I don't think there's anything better than what we have to offer, because it's the best of everything. It really is, right? So that's a nutshell summary of what I would consider the best learning points of 2016. And really excited about this year. It's going to be a big year for all of us. Remember, there's always a ton of love and support here for you guys. We have the application that we'll be sending out here within a few days. We just got to get a couple of technicalities fixed up. And remember, if you don't plan on joining us for the official SHT coming up here in February, you can always just mirror us, follow along us in the group, in the Facebook group. To join as a veteran superhuman, it's only $175 to go through the full progression. But if you just want to follow what everyone else is doing in the group, that would be great too. And then maybe consider joining us for some of the future advanced programs, you know. And I think that's all I got. I love you guys. I love this life. I love this journey. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I'm so thankful to be on path as an individual, but even better to be out here having some kind of an impact on people and sharing this information with people. So thankful for it, all right? Thank you guys so much. I love you.